Why do I think sustainability is a good topic to start this off with? Yeah? Because it gives you a great strategic framework to start thinking about this. Right? My dad was a small businessman. He ran a body shop, right? Pounded out dents, painted cars, that sort of stuff. So when we would sit down and say, well, you got to have a strategy to go to market. Like, I don't have to have a strategy. I know what I'm doing. Right? I price it at this, they buy it. I don't price it at that, they don't buy it. I go, a strategy, right? So whether you're a very large company in the audience today, a community, or an individual business, you have a strategy, right? Whether it's written down in a 3-ring binder and has been blessed by some MBA from somewhere, right, is immaterial. You still have a strategy. So when you start to think about global climate change, you start to need to think about a strategy. How am I going to react? Do I need to react? Do I need to change it all? I mean, there's this brand new thing called a locomotive, and I'm a buggy whip manufacturer. And I need to start thinking about that? Yeah? There might be some very small communities I can sell this to, but I better not think about those scale-up plans for international business. Yeah? So it gives a great framework to start thinking about that. With respect to global climate change, it does hit the triple bottom line. It has environmental impacts, one way or the other. The science is in on this. Right? Even with a 2-degree centigrade, God forbid, right, change in the average Earth's temperature, we're going to see a lot of big changes. What are those? We're already seeing some of the western forests here. Is anybody in pulp and paper? Printing business? Anything related to paper? No. Okay, you're starting to see species shifts, right, in the wood mixture. That affects pulp and paper big time, right? What ones survive, what don't survive, what ones thrive, what ones don't grow very well in your plantation. That affects pulp and paper big time. Yeah? So there are environmental aspects. Agricultural state, I should have known, right? I really should have went right for the corn thing, being a native Hoosier myself. Shifts in precipitation, right? Cold regimes. Longer growing seasons could be an upside, right? But also whether certain horticultural plants will survive in that changed climate regime and those sorts of things, yeah? So there are environmental issues here to talk about. But at the same time, right, there's financial issues. Perhaps not for Indiana, but maybe. I have a client that has a bunch of ocean-going vessels. He fishes for a living, basically, right? I envy him. But he fishes for a living, using the big nets and whatnot. What's going to happen to his operations, his canneries, his processing stuff, if sea level rises 3 feet? Right? Where's that going to take him? Okay, dirty little secret that they don't want you to know about. What happens to NASA? Right, in Florida, when the water levels start rising there. To go underwater, what do we do with that? Do we rescue it? We build dikes around it? What do we do with it? Right? There's financial implications about that and about the physical structures that go around it. Supply chain and product line. Yeah? There's threats and there's issues around that. Operating costs and margin and reputation and brand value and all the rest of the stuff that we can go on and on about. But there's also some social expectations. You heard about, what was it, a Gallup poll or a Zogby poll, where Americans, even though the economic crisis, healthcare, right, those are top of the mind, as they say, climate change is still out there, right? It's still a concern. Why do we care what the public thinks? Who here has customers? Right? Who here has residents? Right? You're in somebody's supply chain. You've got stakeholders, you've got customers. If you can build an advantage around climate change, why not do it? Right? We're going to hear about Waxman-Markey, existing legal frameworks, and those sorts of things. Those are coming. I would tell you that even though there might not be a federal policy, states like California, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Washington, Oregon, New Mexico do have those legal frameworks. Why are we talking about climate change in this concept? There is at Harvard Business, a guy by the name of Michael Porter invented this concept called value chain, right? Starts at raw materials, and I've interpreted it to go into post-consumer goods, right? Because we close the resource loop a little bit. And it just links together all those. What is it about climate change and that value chain that you see there? There isn't a spot on that value chain that there isn't some risk or some opportunity for you, right? Risk, it could drive up your cost from raw materials. Transportation fuels could get more expensive, so you might have to go to local sourcing. Or if you're the local source, that might be a good thing for you, right? Eliminate some of that far-flung competition. At the end of it, at the customer, brand switching to low-carbon alternatives. We've seen that happen, right? Again, I've worked a lot in pulp and paper, food and beverage, where people really are. They will brand switch based on that label. Think about the new Walmart program with the label on it, right? You think people will brand switch over that? Don't know, but Walmart thinks they will. So typically we go through an exercise on this sort of thing. I'm just presenting that out for you guys to think about and actually start to do your own little spiderweb sort of mapping. Think about those three issues and start to connect the dots. So summing up on this, the real reason for my talk is to start to give you a bigger framework to start to think about the issues around climate change. What's in, what's out, right? We talked a little bit about this thing called the value chain, right? Too many people think about climate change in this context, right? What's it doing to my operations and how can I comply? You have to take an outside-in perspective as well, which is you're part of somebody's supply chain. Everybody here, even me. I'm part of my wife's supply chain, right? We're part of somebody's supply chain. Somebody's going to put a demand on us, and we better know what that is, right? And anticipate it. With that, I think I'm pretty much at my time, if not a little bit over. So, do we want to take one or two questions, or are we going to say that to the end? We're going to try and say that at the end. Thank you very much for your time.